Hey guys, welcome to another lending update with David. This is for May 2019. So the biggest headline this month will be what Scott Morrison, our Prime Minister, has announced last weekend. They are introducing a new first home deposit scheme. What does it do? Well, basically what it does is it allows you to purchase your first home with just 5% deposit. So at the moment, traditionally, you'll need about 20% deposit and the lender will lend you 80%. But in this case, the government is going to allow you to borrow up to 95% loan to value ratio, and all you need to fork out is that 5% deposit. So government will essentially waive the lender mortgage insurance, which usually you need to pay for anything above 80% LVR. And also they're going to cover, or they're going to allow the smaller lenders to lend you up to that amount with certain criteria that applies, of course. So that could save first home buyers the LMI, which if you go up to 95%, it could be tens and thousands, so in the 5 digits. So that's a significant scheme to be able to help first home buyers to get into the market with very, very little deposit. And that starts from 1st of January 2020. Now, not everyone can benefit from that. Only the first 10,000 people, the lucky winners, who's going to be able to utilize this. So, and it comes in as a first come, first serve purpose. So I'm sure I'll be able to provide more details as we get more clarity down the road. Also to mention that Labor has actually followed with this policy as well once it was announced. Okay, so whichever government that gets elected, I'm sure they will follow through on this policy. Now, the other thing is there's being updated HEM, or minimum living expenses, which some lenders have now been adopting. So since the 2019 HEM figure has been released, some lenders have started adopting it, such as ANZ. And what that means is, for example, previously in last year, your minimum living expenses might be $2,000, and now adjusting to inflation in 2019, that may be $2,050 or even $2,100. And what does that mean? That means for those lenders who's adopting the updated HEM, essentially you're going to be calculated on an extra $50 or $100 more on the minimum living expenses to be able as part of servicing calculation. So in other words, it's going to make borrowing even harder. So unfortunately, it's not great news, but some lenders have started to adopt that. So just keep in mind that in adjusting to inflation, I'm sure that more and more lenders will probably follow suit. Last but not least, at the moment, the fixed rates seems to be down. So it's still going down at this point. I've seen most of the lenders have actually slashed more on their fixed rates in the last couple of weeks. So if you are shopping for fixed rates at the moment, it's a great time to be comparing. But at the same time, don't forget that whatever your purpose on the property, you also need to factor that in. So for example, if you are looking at getting some cash out of the investment property, then it might not be a great idea to actually fix the rate, because you might want to be able to do some valuation shopping with a couple of different lenders and see which lender comes back with the highest valuation, and then you can then take out the most equity to be able to do whatever you want to do moving forward. So in that scenario, it might not be such a great idea to fix your rate on that property. So definitely keep in mind in terms of what your goal of the property is before fixing your rates. Okay, so that's all I want to cover. Make sure that you go to the poll voting place this Saturday for the federal election. Otherwise, you'll be hit with the hefty fine. But I'm sure next month we'll have more clarity around who is going to be our new federal government. And hopefully that'll give more clarity on how the property market is going to plan out. I'm David from lendpower. Thanks for tuning in another episode of Lending Update with David.